Hashem, we are continuing along with our study of the Haggadah, and now, we're going to go to the incident of what Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria taught. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria taught, Harei ani keben shivim shana. Behold, I am like 70 years old, and meaning to say that when he was appointed, this is an incident that goes back to the Gemara in Brachos. It tells us that he wasn't sure whether or not he should take over the leadership. So he grew white hair overnight, miraculously. And therefore he says, behold, it's like I was 70 years old, even though I was 18 years old at the time. So this is the Gemara Brachos 28a, that a miracle happened to him and his beard became white, so he looks older, and his words will be accepted. V'lo zachiti, and nevertheless, I never defeated the sages with this argument. Shetayamar Yitzias Mitzrayim b'leilos. I never was able to convince them that we should talk, that we are obligated to talk about the Exodus story even at night, from that passage of Shema, the Kriya Shema of evening. Meaning, I never succeeded in having that third paragraph of the Shema recited at night. Ad Darsha Ben Zoma, until Ben Zoma came along on the day that I was appointed, and he expounded the verse, and he said, it says, "Laman tiskor es yom tzischa me'eretz Mitzrayim kol yemei chayecha," in order that you may remember the day of your departure from Egypt, all the days of your life. If it had just written yemei chayecha, if it had just written the days of your life, I would have said hayamim. I would have said that means you have to say this every day. But kol yemei chayecha, but since it says all the days of your life, it's coming to teach us also about the night. That also at night, we're obligated, to mention the Exodus. And the sages say, if it said Yemei Chayecha, if it said the days of your life, then I would say that refers to Olam Hazeh, this world. Kol Yemei Chayecha, all the days of your life, Lahavi Limota Mashiach, that even in the time of the Messiah, we're obligated to mention the Exodus, even in the time of the Messiah. Meaning to say, Kol Yemei Chayecha, without any limit to it. Meaning to say, even in the days of Mashiach, a person has to talk about the Exodus from Egypt. So, a couple of questions about this. Why is this story even here? Why is it? You have the place where in the story of Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria and the Haggadah. The question is, A, why is this story here? Is there a deeper message to the idea that Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria is saying that you should talk about the Exodus even at night, and the sage is saying that you should talk about it even in the time of the Mashiach? So there are two basic approaches to this, to why this paragraph is doing here. One approach is to say that it's just continuing the idea of talking about the importance and the obligation to talk about the Exodus from Egypt all the nights of the year. But a second approach is talking about that he's responding to the previous paragraph. He was there, and he was saying, and he was answering them, and he was saying that that this was what the conversation was, that they were talking about at that meal. He was there at that meal, and this is what he was saying to them. And that's how the Rambam explains it. That's how the Rambam explains it. You have the place, Aryeh? I'm a Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria. No, it's a page after that, where first there's the incident where all the rabbis were in Bnei Brak, and then after that we have we have this incident with Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria. It's like 2 paragraphs after it. So it's 2 paragraphs after it. So let me share with you some of the commentary on this. Hold on. Okay, let me share some of the commentary. Okay, here we go. Okay. So what's the reason why this is here? So the Kolbo says the reason why it's here is to say that you shouldn't think I only have to tell about the Exodus during the day, because it says it says Laman Tiskores Yom. So you might think it doesn't apply at night. So therefore we have this paragraph that says it's at night. And also, since the actual Exodus, the main Exodus was during the day, you might have thought that you don't have to tell the story at night. That's one explanation from the Kolbo, who's 14th century Provence. The Rashbatz explains that it's teaching us that aside from the mitzvah of mentioning the Pesach at the Exodus, about the Exodus on the night of the Seder, also every single night we have to mention it. We shouldn't think that this is the only night we have to talk about Yetziat Mitzrayim. We have to talk about it every single night. Yeah. The Torah talks about the obligation on the night, what we call Seder night, to eat a Paschal lamb, to eat matzah and maror. That's what the Torah talks, and to get rid of the chametz from your house. And the Torah also mentions that you should tell the story to your children, but it doesn't have the formal Seder. What do you mean? I mean, there's many different Haggadahs. Everybody wrote a commentary on the Haggadah. But what? So that's a very good question. Who originally wrote the Haggadah, it's not clear. We don't have but if you remember, Rena Oper gave a lecture here a while ago about they have a very, very ancient manuscript, and they have Haggadah in it, going back to the 6th or 7th century. So you see the Haggadah is a very, very ancient text. Yeah, it's a very ancient text. So here's a midrash on it. The midrash Rabbeinu David HaNagid, who is the grandson of the Rambam, he writes that after they told the story of the Exodus, an incident happened to them. They said to each other that what happened was that they were talking to each other. They went so long Yetzias Mitzrayim, and the night passed. And they said, you're not even obligated talking about it at night. You're only obligated during the day. And then a portion of them said, no, you only have to do it at night because it says, well, Shumurim. And so therefore we had this teaching about that you're supposed to do it also during the day and at night. And that's why I was talking about that they were having an argument about whether or not you're supposed to talk about the Exodus at night. So why you know where we're up to, Jonathan? We're past the 4 questions. We're a couple paragraphs after that, where Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria said, behold, it's like I'm 70 years old, and I didn't merit that the Exodus should be said at night. So the commentary, Ein Elio, how you doing, Judah? Baruch Hashem. No, we're doing the Haggadah. So he says, what's this really? I mean, it's this right there. Yeah, I'll show you where we're up to. Right here. He says right here. All right. So he says, what does it say? Oh, no, Rai, how are you doing? Excellent. No, Rai. Excellent. No, we're doing the Haggadah. But the Chumash, yeah, that here. If you give that to me, I'll show you the place. Here, right here. And make sure he doesn't lose this place. So the Ein Elio discusses, why does it say, behold, I'm 70 years old, and I didn't merit that the Exodus should be said at night, the Exodus from Egypt. Meaning to say, he goes into a discussion, but I had my own idea about that. But anyway, let me first share with you what he says. So he explains that it says in Tractate Yoma that if you find somebody who's a teacher, that it's a rabbi, he's clearly either from the tribe of Levi or the tribe of Yisachar, meaning to say, the only one who's able to learn and teach properly the halacha from the Gemara is somebody from these 2 tribes. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria was a Kohen. And so therefore, because he says he was the 10th generation from Ezra. But until you're 40 years old, you're not supposed to teach. So we see he wasn't appropriate to teach, but God made him a miracle that he was able to teach it at that moment. But I have a different concept here. He says, I never merited to teach the story of the Exodus at night. This is what this means to me. Or I'm going to share with you what it means to me. What does night mean? No, symbolism. What does it symbolize? What does night symbolize? The night symbolizes, like from a literary perspective, night symbolizes darkness, but it means when you're at your dark moments in life, when you're at the darkest moments in life, that's called night. You know, Elie Wiesel, he wrote a book. What did he call his book? We're doing the Haggadah here. Here's the Haggadah. You read that book? So, right. So why does he call it night? Here's the Haggadah. Beautiful. Take Haggadah from down there, Noam. I don't know if that's Haggadah. There's another one down there. Yeah, that's a good one. These Haggadahs that I'm sharing him, these are ones I grew up with. Yeah, that's a great one. Here, I'm going to show you where we're up to. So my theory is like this. And there's no English here. Do you need English, Noam? Literally, there's no English in this one. Here. No, we went past it. Jonathan could show you what we're up to. Hey, let me have that one. I'll show you. Anyway, my theory is like this. Yeah, it's in here. Of course. Come on now. What? Here, right here. Okay, here. That one's just Hebrew. No, don't use that. Don't use that one. But here, give that to me. I'll give it to you. Oh, this is the learning Haggadah. Beautiful. Okay, so it's like this. Here. So it's like this. This is what I was trying to say to you. That we're up to this paragraph. He's saying as follows. He's a young kid. He's 18 years old. And he never understood this concept that when you're at night, what's at night? Night is darkness. When you're in a place in life which is a challenge, which is a problem, where you're facing dark moments in life, that there's a path out of it. And what's the path out? Very good, but more. No, what more specifically is the path out of the darkness? More specific than that. What does he say? Look at that paragraph. What does Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria say? Behold, I was 18 years old, and I never understood what? What does it say? No. What does it say in that paragraph? Exactly. So what does that mean, Aiden? I never understood to convince everyone that the Exodus should be mentioned at night, meaning to say, when he was he didn't understand that when he was in a dark place in life, he didn't understand that what was the path out? Path out was to look at what? Look at the Exodus story. And the Exodus story would serve as an inspiration for him, as an understanding. Wow. What a miracle. We're so happy you're here. Baruch Hashem, Kobe. You doing okay? Amazing. Here, we're doing the Haggadah. Give Kobe a Haggadah. So, okay, good, Kobe. So he never understood that the Exodus story is the blueprint to life. That when you're God forbid, in a place of darkness, that the path out is the path of looking back at the way Hashem has led us out from the past. And that's the Exodus story. That's what the Exodus story shows us. How does it show us? The Jewish people were in the depths of slavery. And Hashem said, you cry out, you get spiritual inspiration, and you'll have a path forward. He didn't understand that because he was too old. He was too young. He was 18. That's the way I read this passage. You follow that, no, right? And then Ben Zoma taught it from a verse. And it says, not just in the daytime do we have to tell this story, but even at night. Meaning to say, we shouldn't only tell this story during the day, but we should also tell the story. Meaning, what does the day here mean? Day means when things are going well. But we should look at the Exodus story, even in the darkest moments. That's what we should turn to. And then the rabbi said, no, even in the time of the Mashiach. What are they saying when they say tell the Exodus story even in the time of the Mashiach? What are they saying there? Yeah, so why would you need to tell the Exodus story when it's perfect? Mashiach's life is perfect. Why would you bother telling the Exodus story?
Like to show what I feel like if you don't see both sides, you don't know how perfect it is, maybe.
Very good, to look back to show you what if you sin, where you could end up. But I heard a different answer. This was told to me like around 15 years ago. I traveled to Venezuela after there was a synagogue that was attacked in a terrorist attack. they were firebombed. Today there was two synagogues attacked. One in Detroit, a terrorist tried to bomb it, and in Norway. So this is unfortunately very common. But so I traveled to Venezuela after a terrorist attack there, and the whole Jewish community was running from the country, and basically they all ran away. There's like very few Jews left in Venezuela. It was once just like the most beautiful Jewish community outside of Israel, and now it's like finished because Chavez, the wicked ruler, really made it uncomfortable for Jews. So the rabbi there was driving me around. He's actually, Baruch Hashem, doing well. He lives in Miami, but he's got to be close to 100 years old now. His name is Rabbi Pinchas Brenner. And Rabbi Brenner said to me, when the temple was destroyed, there were two Batei Mikdash, the first temple and the second temple. When the second temple, they were both destroyed on Tisha B'Av. So we have a fast day on Tisha B'Av, right? So the first temple was destroyed on Tisha B'Av, so we made a fast. So now the temple is rebuilt. The Beis HaMikdash is rebuilt. So now we're in the time of the second temple. Do they have to fast on Tisha B'Av in the time of the second temple? Yeah. Why? The temple's rebuilt. So that's what answer. It's not just about the temple, but Rabbi Soloveitchik gave a different answer. Says Rabbi Soloveitchik, the reason why you have to fast during the time of the second Beit HaMikdash was to make sure it didn't happen again. The destruction, didn't happen again. This rabbi was I think he had in mind, he saw what was going to happen to his community. It was going to be destroyed by Chavez. And he was telling me, it's happening again. It's happened to too many Jewish communities. So the reason why we have to say it when we're in the time of the Mashiach, to make sure it shouldn't happen again. That's the end, to make sure we don't get put into slavery again. We have to tell the story to make sure we don't end up in Egypt. That's the idea. And Egypt doesn't just mean a physical place. It means in a period of being enslaved to something other than God. So that's the idea here. I mean, we didn't get very deep yet, but we still have a few more minutes to continue. So, okay. Anyway, so that's the first thing. The first thing is that idea. Now, so the question is, how old was Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria at that moment? So, one opinion is that he was 70 years old. That's that he was actually. Rashi says that he was 18 years old. You know the story? I said it before you came in. Do you know the story? Or I'll just tell you this story very quickly. Basically, there was a big argument in the Beis Medrash between Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Gamliel. And Rabbi Gamliel was the head of the yeshiva. This is on the bottom of Bracha 27b. And he embarrassed Rabbi Yoshua. And it wasn't the first time he embarrassed him. He had actually embarrassed him 3 times at this point. So the rabbi said, we got to get rid of Rabbi Gamliel. They said, we're going to get rid of Rabbi Gamliel. What? But then they had a problem. They got rid of him, but who was going to take over? It couldn't be Rabbi Yoshua because he was also involved in the fight. So you can't just replace him with the guy we got into a fight with. It couldn't be Rabbi Akiva because his ancestry was not pure. So they said, okay, let's appoint Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria. So he said, I'm going to go ask my wife. What did his wife say to him? His wife said, they're going to get rid of you just like they got rid of Rabbi Gamliel. She didn't want him to do it. And also, he was too young. So that night, a miracle happened, and overnight, his hair turned white so that they would listen to him. And that's why he says here, behold, it's like I'm 70 years old. Really, he was 18. So, you understand, Noam?
Yeah. No.
Well, it's in the Talmud. Yeah, it's a story. So then, turns out his wife was right, because what happened was Rabbi Gamliel went and apologized to Rabbi Yoshua. So they said, let's put him back in. And Rabbi Gamliel did the majority of the time, but Rabbi Elazar ben Azaria still did 1 week out of a month. Anyway, this is the Kahonom. This is why he says, behold, I was like 18 years old. So we see from here, if you want people to listen to you, you need to have the passion of being 18, but the wisdom of being 70. So you have to like maybe do something connected to connect the two of you, to connect the 18 to the. That would be the perfect leader, a person who's got the passion of 18 and the wisdom of 70. So he dyed his hair white. I mean, he didn't dye it overnight, shock white. There is such a phenomenon that sometimes you have like a crazy event and your hair overnight turns white. You heard of that? I don't know if that's true. Somebody look it up. But anyway, we'll dive in the mincha now. Baruch Hashem. Any questions? My question is, how come you guys are so geschmack? That's my question. All right, let's stop here.